Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, home of the Kentucky Derby and home of probably one of the biggest upsets you'll ever see in sports history over the weekend. In Maryland, the land of pleasant living, is my good friend and colleague, John Webster. John, how are you doing this evening?
Hey Gary, I'm doing really great, man. Hey, you had a lot of fun this weekend with a lot of sports, and you had a special event in your backyard and a winner that nobody even saw winning. And it looks like that horse may be coming our way for Pimlico and the Preakness. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Hey, John Pitt, how you doing?
Hey, it's been a while. I miss you guys, man. Lot to talk about today. It's been a minute.
Hey, I miss you guys too, man. It's great to be back.
Same
It's
here.
great to be back. Hey, if I could take a second before we get into this sports, I want to say a special shout out to the Ohio State men's lacrosse team. They received an at-large selection to this year's 2022 NCAA lacrosse championships. Special player on the team, Bobby Van Buren. Noah's dad. Congratulations to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Good luck to you in the tournament. I think your first game is against Cornell. Go get them. We'll see how it goes.
All right. I love that because Ohio State is my other school besides the University of Maryland.
What about Notre Dame?
That's your school. That's all you Subway alumni, man.
Hey, as long as I got a ticket, I'm on the bus. I'm on that train.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Manhattan, man, you'll be in the land of your people.
Hey, I can't think of a better place to be.
Okay. All right. Well, just to get this started, let's just talk about these NBA playoffs. So much to digest with several series knotted at two apiece. We got another one going on tonight that could get tight as well. But Heat Sixers and Suns Mavericks are two series that at the beginning did not look like they were going to be tied 2-2. Joel Embiid has come back for the Sixers and they have come back. The Mavericks, who looked dead in the water, really looked strong yesterday in tying that series. I mean, Phoenix was my pick to win it all. It still is my pick, but they look vulnerable all of a sudden, and we'll talk about that. But I'm gonna throw it to you, John, and tell me, what is it about that Heat Sixers series that you think has made it, has deadlocked it, and made it probably one of the more compelling series to watch?
I think part of it is that guy number 21, he came back, Mr. Joel Embiid. He covers the middle. He shuts a lot of things down. He does a lot of things. He's a great player. He gets 20 plus points a game, he gets double rebounds, but there are things that he does that don't show up in the scorebook or the score charts. You know, how he plugs the middle down, how he shuts down defenses. He's calling out defenses. He's able to help when you make a mistake on defense to be able to pick up for the other player that made a mistake. It makes it a lot better when you have a 6'11", 7-foot aircraft carrier back there that can take up for the mistakes that you're going to make.
Now, what about Suns Dallas? I guess, I got a chance to peep a little bit of it over the weekend. Is it just one of those things where it just swings to home court, for Dallas and they're able to turn it around, or what do you see? I'll tell you one thing at first glance, and again, from the little bit that I watched yesterday, that they're really frustrating Chris Paul, that they're doing something, they're making Chris Paul do things that he doesn't want to do. He fouled out yesterday. You can question a number of those fouls. I haven't seen all the tape, but I've heard them heard complaints about it. But how much of that is Dallas, and how much of that is Phoenix just not responding on the road?
I think this series, Gary, I think it's just going to be a home series. Whoever's playing at home is going to win the game. I think when they go back to Phoenix, unfortunately for Dallas, their players do not play well on the road in hostile environments. It reminds me of We're going to go back a few years now, Gary. So go back with me. We're going to go back to the 90s before the Bulls became the Bulls, when they were struggling to beat Detroit to get there. You remember in the playoffs, they could always win at home, but they couldn't beat Detroit on the road. Yeah. Michael Jordan would show up for all 7 games, but the rest of the team would struggle with their points in the games on the road. And I think you had a similar situation. By no means am I saying Luka Doncic is Michael Jordan, and by no means am I saying this Mavericks team is the Bulls. I'm just comparing the scenarios. And I think this Mavericks team is going to have problems when they come back to play again. Finney Smith made 8 3-point shots last night. Do we expect him to do that again on the road in Phoenix? I would hope he could hit maybe 3 or 4 of them, but I think it's going to be a struggle. Luka is going to still do his thing. He's still going to get his shots up. Brunson made some unbelievable shots. Jalen Brunson, unbelievable shots, played great. Will he be able to do that in Phoenix? I'm not sure. Bartens got a great look at him when he played for the Wizards. I pretty much know what he's going to do in Phoenix when they play the next game. So the thing is, as Jason Kidd said so eloquently, somebody else has to come to the party besides Luka. They came to the party for games 3 and 4. I do not think they will come to the party for game 5.
Yeah. One other question. With Phoenix, do you think, well, it used to be we were so focused on Devin Booker and what he does that we probably overlooked how important Chris Paul is to the Suns. And my thinking is that maybe Dallas has figured out, Devin's going to get his. We just have to maybe limit him from getting his. If we take Chris Paul out, we can take a lot of Phoenix's heart away. Does that seem plausible to you?
I think what happened with Chris Paul yesterday was more on anomaly. I don't think that's what you're going to see for the rest of the series. I think he's still one of the best guards in the league, even though he just turned 37. I think he's one of the best point guards in the league. I think Chris Paul tomorrow night or whenever they play the next game is not going to foul out, which was simply unbelievable. And he's not going to be in foul trouble, and he's going to get more than 8 points or 9 points. You're going to see a different Chris Paul. I mean, the same thing. You can back up for a second to the Philadelphia series. Embiid came back and he made a difference, but James Harden had 31 points yesterday. Do you think James Harden is going to score 31 points anymore in this series? I hope he does. I really hope he does, but I don't know if he can. Two different things. No,
I don't think so either. And hey, I think when all is said and done, we will be talking more about Joel Embiid than James Harden. Hey, going over to the West again, Memphis and Golden State. That's a 2-1 Warriors lead, and now Ja Morant is doubtful. In fact, I think he's out for tonight's game 4. As bad as that looks for the Warriors, it actually could be kind of a blessing because they've actually played well without him. They've had a lot of games to play without him this year. I think I saw a number where they were like 20-5 without him, and he's one of the most electrifying players in the NBA. And they're on the road. Will that really matter? Will his absence matter? Do you think Memphis can really do well without him, or is that something where they fall in a 3-1 hole tonight?
Gary, you bring up an interesting point about the record, but it's all in what you want to believe, Gary. Do you want to believe the stat of they're 20-5 without Morant, or do you want to believe the stat that they're -32 right now with Morant out on the court? Which do you want to go with? And then the other thing.
I'm going to say the second number that's another glaring number that I never would have expected. And remember, I'm a Ja Morant fan.
I love Morant, but let me give you another one. They're 20-5 without him, but in the playoffs, the energy level goes up and the defense goes up. that also means you need a player that can get his own bucket. So tonight, if Ja Morant does not play, and this team that is 20-5 without him plays without him, who gets the bucket without him? Is it Baines? Is it Dylan Brooks? Is it Tyrus Jones? Is it Jaren Jackson Jr.? Let me know when I say somebody that's going to make you go ding, 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 Gary. Because right now, all I'm getting is
on going.
Right now, I'm getting crickets, which means you see the point I'm making.
Yeah.
But I will say this. If Golden State does not come tonight with their lunch pail packed and their hard hat on, they will lose, because Memphis is not going to just lay down and die. They're going to play. Golden State's going to have to come and be ready to play. There are a few things that Memphis did that I think they're going to make adjustments on. They overplayed on defense. So when they overplayed on defense, they were susceptible to back doors. They were so worried about Golden State and shooting the threes, they were up too close to their man. And it led to a lot of back doors. And you can't overplay Golden State because there's a lot of back doors and there's a lot of back screens and front screens and cutting and picking and all that stuff. They're a hard team to play. And if you do not maintain your spacing on defense, you will get abused over and over and over again by them with the shots they take and the layups they will get. And the thing that I love about them, all these kids talk about three-point shooting. Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, and Steph Curry are lethal three-point shooters. But Gary, did you see how many shots were inside the elbow? Did you see how many two-pointers they took? Did you see how many layups they got? Kids, please watch this. It's not just about a three-point shot every time. That three is good, but there's still a reason why there's a two-point shot, a two-point jump shot, and a two-point layup. Please watch.
Amen. I've been saying that all year, John, as I've watched the NBA and, for that matter, the college game, where it's just become a three-point come down the court, shoot playground game. That two-pointers matter a lot in the long run if you can make them, because they pile up too. And you could look at what Kansas did with those. Yeah, they came back with threes, but they scored quite a few twos. They got the ball inside. I don't know where the game went away from the elbow, but that might be the most interesting point. And you laid it all out for everything for Memphis, and that's the thing that I love about your basketball acumen.
Well, thank you, Mr. Graves. I appreciate it. I hope when we break the next game down, which is the Celtics and the Bucks, that we can talk about some more basketball acumen, because the Celtics really had me disappointed, Gary. They got me disappointed, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do too. I never wanted to think that Milwaukee was a one-year wonder, because Giannis is Giannis, and I think as long as you have him, that they're always going to be in the mix. But for that series to be what it is, as well, it's one of those things. I don't know. Boston really should be in control of this series. As good as they looked in that first round, I'm really shocked at their play in this one. And again, because I've been on derby duty, the last week or so, I haven't really paid close attention to it. And that's why, you can help me out with that. But am I missing something? Have they taken their eye off the ball? Is Jason Tatum going to make a shot at any point in this series? Because to me, again, watching it in passing, it seems to me like Jason Tatum has just hit a wall or something.
Well, he picked a heck of a time to have his worst game of the series the other night. He was 4 of 19, I think 4 of 20. It was a rough game for him. And oh, by the way, tonight's game, just got a breaking news. Robert Williams, their starting center, is out. So that's going to change how that game is going to be played as well, too, because now you're putting more pressure on Al Horford and you're putting more pressure on Thiessen when he comes off the bench. Neither one of those players are good rim protectors, or as good a rim protector as Robert Williams. So that changes it. Tatum, Gary, back to your original question, I think he's going to bounce back tonight. Him and Jaylen Brown, Brown had a great game in game 2. Tatum didn't have such a great game last night, Saturday, and they still almost won. People talk about the call at the end of the game when Marcus Smart got fouled. And yes, I think it should have been a 3-point shot, and it was only 2. But also, I've always told people, other things lead to you losing the game. End of the game, they had the lead, and in my opinion, the shot selection they took when they had the lead, Marcus Smart put up a 3-point shot. They'd already got 1 rebound and restarted the 24-second clock. Worked it around again, got another shot, and it was Marcus Smart shooting a 3. Marcus Smart, I've said this to you many times, Gary, that's the heart of the Boston Celtics. He is a true Boston Celtic at heart. He reminds me of the Celtics from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I love him, but that's not who I want shooting a 3 at the end of the game when you need it badly. And again, shooting a 3 when you could have been driving, could not really drive on that because they're out of time on the shot clock. Then the kid Williams, instead of grabbing the ball with both hands because they had a chance to restart the shot clock again, he grabs it with one and ends up punching it out of bounds. Milwaukee comes down. Again, they score 4 points to get that 103-100 lead. How do they score those points? One with Giannis going to the basket, and another one with Holiday making a move at 15 feet to the basket. 4 points, Gary. 4 points. Boston missed a 3-pointer. You do the math. You do the math.
Well said. Hey, before we move on, John, let's talk a little bit about fan behavior because we had an incident between Dallas and Dallas and Phoenix where a fan had to be removed for harassing allegedly Chris Paul's family. I don't think we're in disagreement that kind of thing is unacceptable. But how do you deal with that if you're a team? How do you deal with that if you're an opposing team? We all know that those kind of things. Fans are going to be fans. But if we have time, let's get into a discussion really about what is expected of fans in your view, especially since you've been a coach.
Fans can come in there and they can yell, they can scream, they can say things to you, but it needs to be within the confines of respectability. You just can't attack a player and say whatever is on your mind to a player. I think it's gotten out of hand. I think what happened with Chris Paul and his family yesterday was totally uncalled for. And I just don't, I give credit to the Mark Cuban and the Mavericks organization. They threw the kid out. The kid looked like he's barely 14 years old, Gary. And there was physical contact with either his mother or his wife. His kids are sitting there and seeing this. It's uncalled for. Going back to Kyrie Irving with the Boston, Brooklyn series, whatever your feelings are about Kyrie Irving, whatever they're not, whether they are or not, doesn't matter. He's still a human being. He still should be treated a certain way. Now, his response, I'm not justifying his response either. I don't think that was right. But you don't go to a game flipping the finger off at people, cussing them out, calling them names, and you got your own kid there, sitting there. And that's just not what it's about. Again, I'm showing my age because I remember if you took your family on a road trip, you put them up in the sky suite. You didn't put them behind your bench. I listened to Keyshawn Johnson earlier today on his show, and he said he never had to worry about that because his family's going to take care of business. He didn't have to worry about them. They could take care of themselves. So I know what that means, and that's fine. But everybody is not Keyshawn Johnson's family. But everyone deserves the respect when they're sitting at a game. Everybody deserves that respect. Cheer for your team. Boo the other team or whatever, but still be respectful of that other team. And that's where we lost it. These fans are sitting, you buy these seats now. I look at it. You're sitting basically, you got some of these seats right next to the bench where the players are. I don't agree with that. I don't think any fan needs to be that close. I think it's become too much more entertainment, and you've lost the aspect of safety and security and making sure that these people are in a confines or an environment that is cordial and friendly. That's not what's going on there. Chris Paul should be worrying about the Phoenix Suns and how they're going to come back since he's fouled out the game. Yes, he had fouled out at that point, but he should be in the huddle helping his team pull it out. He shouldn't be talking to security about how to protect his family. That is uncalled for. That is very sad. And that's, I hope, with our society and sports and entertainment as a whole, I hope we can find a way to get away from things going on. Not even sports, Gary, not even sports. And I'll use an example. Dave Chappelle, he's doing a comedy routine last week. And there's a guy that comes on the stage during his comedy routine. No, that's uncalled for, unacceptable. It's funny back in the 80s, Charles Barkley would always go out, Gary, and he didn't care who was messing with him. You remember he used to get assault charges. You remember that, Gary? He threw a couple people.
Right. I was living in Orlando when he threw a guy through a plate glass window.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not condoning the violence.
No.
But I'm also not condoning you going up to these athletes or their families, causing havoc and wrecking confusion in a situation. That's absolutely wrong. I think the NBA, the NFL, Major League, all these sports needs to find a way to pull this back because you're not protecting the players. You're not protecting the players' families, and the players have to concentrate on their families as they're playing the game. Or you go back to the 80s and you say they have to sit in the sky suite. Something has to be done. That's just me. I'm an old, bald-headed, grumpy old man. So what do I know?
Well, that makes two of us then, because again, you're supposed to go to a game. I mean, if your family's going to be there, they're supposed to feel safe. They're there to watch a relative play. They're supposed to feel safe. The guy on the court is supposed to be able to concentrate on what he's doing on the floor and entertain his family as well as everybody else. If he's focused on the security of his fans, security of his family because of some fan nonsense or whatever, no, that's unacceptable and it's reprehensible. And, I know we're in a time now where anything basically goes, but it's got to stop. And, I'm a believer like Malcolm X, by any means necessary. If that means, putting guards or something around a team, around their fan base or something like that to protect them, maybe that's what it has to come to. Not some people in blazers or something like that. I'm talking about really some hardcore, security or something like that, because it's really getting out of hand, John. I know that sounds extreme, but again, you buying a ticket does not give you a right to bully and harass or even, and especially touch, somebody else, period.
I agree with you, Gary, but something has to be done. I will say that. Something has to be done.
Well, let's move on to probably the most uplifting sports story of the weekend and probably the most uplifting sports story in a while. I mean, we might be talking about this as a potential movie with the Kentucky Derby here, and Rich Strike, last minute, and I'm maybe even last second, 80-1 shot. Gets in on Friday morning, takes out. He replaces a D. Wayne Lucas horse who would have been a long shot as well. Starts from the far outside.
Gate 21.
Huh? Yeah.
Gate 21.
Well, it's 20 gates, but he was number 21 because he was also eligible horse. There were 22 eligible horses, and 20 got in. So he gets in the field. Nobody knows what to expect. This horse is lagging at the rear in probably one of the most blistering paces of in Kentucky Derby history. I'm gonna break it down for you in terms of, like, say, Secretariat. There was talk that field at the beginning might break Secretariat's record, which has stood for almost 50 years. Now, nobody believed that was going to hold, but whoever was going to win, they had a lot of work to do. And up until the mile, it seemed like My Pick, Epicenter, and Zandon, the morning line favorite, were going to do it because they got in that pace. They kept pace. They are speed horses. and they looked like they were going. One of them was going to win. It looked like epicenter, and then here comes Rich Strike along the rail. The best move that I think he made in that was when they made the turn, and he's in the middle of the pack, but he's along the rail, and he's behind Messier, which is named after the hockey player. Then he just kind of veers to his right, finds a little bit of clean air, zooms by him, gets along the rail, has the shortest trip, and blows by him. 2:02.61. That's a ridiculous pace. Everybody said, well, no. That was a good pace. I don't care what anybody says. But let's go back to the main numbers, John. 80-1. Payoff, 163.60 for a $2 bet. I'm still looking up stories, trying to see who cashed in the biggest on that. I heard somebody hit some kind of superfecta or whatever for 300 grand. I've seen a story where somebody might have played the whole field and won 700 grand. But that's just ridiculous. But still, John, 80-1. Could you have expected anything like that? And where does that rank in terms of probably the biggest upsets you've ever seen? And we've seen a few.
Gary, it's up there. That's up there with the Jets beating the Colts. That's up there with Villanova beating Georgetown. That's up there with NC State beating Houston. It's a lot of them. It's a lot of them, It ranks up there as one of the greatest upsets of all time, man. I still hear it in my ears. Epicenter and Zanin are neck and neck. And the announcer is actually saying, and here we are coming down the stretch, Zanin and Epicenter are neck and neck. And out of the clear blue, you see this other horse coming on their left side, and it's Rich Strike. You don't even know where he came from.
Yeah,
I don't. I mean, well, you do. You said he came from the back on the rail, and then he swerved over to the right and got back on the left side to win. But I've never seen anything like it. I was joking with you earlier today, Gary. He did that. Now he'll go to the Preakness and he'll be Seabiscuit now, and he won't even come out the gate. He'll just sit in the gate even after they open the gate. He won't even.
Well, I doubt that, but the Preakness seems tailor made for him because he's obviously he showed he's better than what his record showed, but his record has showed him to be a pretty good closer. And his jockey is one of those guys who the day before he's racing at basically a casino park up in Cincinnati and gets on this horse and rides into victory. And he did the same thing with him that he's done with a lot of his horses here recently, saves the best for last. And again, he was smart enough to see how quick those horses were getting out and just saying, look, this horse is not going to do that, for a half mile or anything else like that. But he wanted to make sure he was in position to try to do something when they got to that mile point. Now, think about it, John, 440 yards. That's all he needed. That's all Epicenter needed to do it. And that's where Rich Strike made that just incredible surge, unlike anything I've seen. I'm still getting my mind around it because, again, you mentioned all these other great upsets. I'm thinking about it from the fact that the little guy, beat the big guys. And you want to talk about Todd Pletcher, you want to talk about Dwayne Lucas in racing, Steve Asmussen, a guy who I profiled this week, who really with Epicenter really had a chance for his first Derby win. And it got snatched from him in the stretch by another horse he never saw coming. Nobody saw coming. That's why sports are great. That's why I love writing about this, because these are the things you just don't expect, whether it's a last second shot, a walk-off home run, an unbelievable touchdown, an incredible goal by Alex Ovechkin or something like that. That's why I love covering it. That's why we love watching sports. And to me, I just think that's the thing as we wrap up, to just say, keep watching sports, because you just never know what's going to happen from day to day, even in the biggest race in the world.
Hey, Gary, you did a great wrap up. I couldn't have said it any better. All I'll say is, John Pitt, thanks for another great week. Everybody out there, continue watching your sports. Watch the NBA. Watch some baseball. watch the USFL, watch some hockey, watch some boxing, whatever your sport, watch it, have a good time, have some fun, and we're going to see you all again next week. Take care.
Later.